There we go. I'm up with the live chat now. Cole, how you doing, Cole? And Ingrid, how you doing in Australia? Lovely to see you. I'm flipping between one and two things at the moment with the software and what have you. So yes, welcome to the live. I hope you're doing well. Whereabouts are you guys? Are you in Australia or New Zealand? One of the t'other, I think. So yeah, we're going to be going through a few things. I don't know how many people are watching at the moment. So we're just waiting sort of people to generally turn up. It's early morning here, lovely sunshine. We've been having some serious storms over here, and I go into a bit of that on CYMATIC TV. We've been waiting for them, and here they are. I hope it's lovely when you are, because it's obviously in the southern hemisphere. It's going to be like pretty much summer now, so that's going to be really nice. Just let's see how many people we got watching now. We've got 5 people watching, 6 people watching. In Australia, you're in the Wales, Ingrid, right? Okay, fair enough. That's not quite southern hemisphere. You know all about the storms. So I'm just going to go through. The Astroflower, basically, and talk a little bit about its origins. There is a list in the description below. I'm just sorting my camera out at the same time. There's a list in the description below of the order of the runnings of the sort of live, as it were, so you can actually ask questions. I do need to set up my phone so I can receive those questions. Let me just get that on. Sorry about this. We're nearly there. Right. So, yes, the Astroflower. Origins of the Astroflower. I've said it many times, and you probably know already that I've been doing healing for sort of a very long time, and I've seen huge amounts of people through the years. And it's very interesting when you start working with energy, you start noticing things. So around about sort of between 15 and 20 years ago, when I started working with sort of clients on a progressional sort of basis, and just having people coming in, so I was having between 10 and 15 people a day when I was doing the healings, and I started noticing things over time. So it must have been around about 15 years ago. And about 15 years ago, I had this moment where I must have seen like 11 people in the day. When I start doing healing, I don't stop. So I don't stop to eat. I don't stop to sort of do anything. I have a slight break between each client, but generally I just go for sort of like a 10-hour stint. And you don't really see the day pass, and it's fantastic. It's like going to the cinema and seeing lots of different films. It's absolutely beautiful. But I noticed on this day here, out of the 11 clients, there must have been eight of them that were all the same sign. And I was kind of thinking, and I started noticing this more and more, that on certain days, certain signs would turn up. Now, I'm not an astrologer. I have learnt an astrology through an astrologer who was part of my healing centre that I had in the Pyrenees. So I did that for about a year and a half. Interesting, highly interesting. But you do need software and everything that goes along with it. And I was looking for something that I can refer to very quickly with each client, and know sort of what the situation was going on with them in regards to sort of elements and stuff like that. And there was a real trigger point really that sort of like brought the whole thing home to roost. Now I had 2 clients. So I had a first client. She came in, she was all dressed in black, and she was born on a particular day. I think it was something like June the 13th or something like that. And and then she'd had like a near-death experience and stuff like that. She'd been in a coma when she was younger, and there was lots and lots of things. And I sort of said, and she was really sort of, she had a high degree of depression and what have you. And I asked, she was quite young, and around about sort of 30, I say quite young, around about 33, around that sort of stage. And, and I asked her what job she does. And she said she was a seamstress. And that's not, you don't come across a lot of seamstress in the world. And as I say, she was dressed in black and what have you. And it was all really very interesting. And there was lots of things going on in that. And then the next client that came in, so I finished with the session with the first person, said goodbye to them and what have you. And the next client that came in, I asked her her birthday. She was born the same day, but she was all dressed in white. She was of a certain age, more within my sort of range. She'd had a near-death experience when she was young. She'd had all these things that corresponded totally to the client before. And I asked her what job she does, and she said she was a seamstress. What are the chances of it? So and I thought to myself, this is not down to chance. So this is when I started looking closely at the elements that are concerned within the Astroflower. Let me just, maybe it'd be a good idea if I bring up the Astroflower. Let's just bring that up there. I'm playing with this software now. Are you ready? Look at that. Wow. So this is the Astroflower that you can see before us here. It's just the advanced stage. We had some really early versions of it. I had versions that were in hexagonals and stuff like that some years ago. And then with Tanya, we sort of developed this new system here, which takes into account all the different elements within each sign. Yes, getting back to the origins of it, so you can just sort of have a look at that. You can also, in the description below, there is a link to all of the individual sign flowers, so you can have a look at that if you want to. These coincidences between these people, I was just sort of working out on the thing that was interesting me was the sort of type of job they did, the sort of relationship they got into, the type of pleasures they were doing, and sort of activities and what have you, and how they approach life. And this helped me with the element structure of the sort of flowers and stuff like that. So each individual sign, and this is the difference when we come towards the Astroflower in accordance to normal astrology, because the Astroflower is not really, it's very, very complicated indeed. And it's not for the light-hearted at the moment. I'm trying to get it a little bit more sort of streamlined, because I view the planet's influence upon the Earth in a completely different way, I think, than they do with astrology. You can adapt it to astrology. It's not a problem. You can use it as a sort of add-on sort of thing to astrology. It doesn't affect astrology in any way. It just uses the influences of the planet in a different way. So if the Earth is in the stream of the planet, if the planet is slightly in front of the Earth and we're in the stream of the planet, that's the influence we're going to be giving it. If the planet is behind us, we are giving that influence away to that. So there's a giving, there's a coming in, and there's a going out. And I think that's as deep as I'm going to go on the planets on that sort of front. We'll save that for another day, for another live. Yes, so I started noticing within each flower, and on these flowers here, you can see that not all of them are made up of just one element. Just to give you a quick key on these elements, the squares are the fixed elements, the triangles are the cardinal elements, and the circles are the mutable elements. And we'll go through this as we go through individual signs, just so you can see clearly what's going on. So I noticed that in individual signs, let's take Scorpio for example, because we do get a lot of Scorpios. It's not just pure water as a sign. There's a lot of mental elements, like that air elements, that's at the base of Scorpio. Let me just bring up Scorpio, shall I? Let's just get it onto, there we go, there's Scorpio there. So you might well be able to see at the top circle of Scorpio, You have that fixed elements, which is in dark blue. And then the lower elements is that fixed air energy that they have at the base. You guys have at the base. But if you see inside the flower itself, there's not a great deal of water, really. There's only a little bit of a contribution, which you can see at the base here via Capricorn. But we'll be going into that in a minute. So I would call these signs I forgot what I call them now. What did I call the when it's made up of two elements? It's hybrid. Hybrid sign, blimey. There's so many things to remember. I do apologise. I'm not getting any younger, and so the hard disk, I think, is getting a little bit run out. So you get the hybrids. And then you get pure signs. Now let's just go and have a look at a pure sign, shall we? Let's go on to Aries. Aries is a pure sign. So on this, you can see around the outside here, you have just pure fire that goes all the way round. They have a lot of fire running through them in the middle, but that is a pure sign. There's actually 4 pure signs. Okay, it is Pisces, Aries, Virgo, and Libra. They are the pure signs. Now the funny thing is as well that when you look at them, this is where we start getting into a lot of patterns going on the Astroflower. Let me just bring the Astroflower back up. Let me just make that a little bit smaller so then you can actually see the whole flower. So you've got 4 hybrids. You've then also, and they're made up of cardinal and mutables, okay? And then you have 4 false signs. Now, this is where we get into, let's just take Capricorn, for example, because Capricorn is it's a hybrid and a false sign, okay? So if you look at Capricorn, here you'll see the top section is in earth and the bottom section is in water. And when you look at the symbolism for the Capricorn, it's half a goat, half water. I'm a Capricorn, or half water, half fish. Yeah. So it has this earth element, and that is the front end, and the back end is water, like Pisces, and it comes from that sort of thing. So you can't say that Capricorn is full earth energy. It also has that water, those emotions that are really deep in Capricorn. But if you look at the Capricorn flower here, and once you go through all the elements, you can count off all the elements, and there's actually more water elements than there is earth elements. They have no earth in them whatsoever. It's all on the surface. And this is very particular, creates a very particular character. So they hide their emotions well, but they're highly emotional. And it's the way the elements flow through their flowers which helps them to develop certain aspects in their life and convert those emotions into physical beings, in physical things. So Capricorns are always trying to do things. Trying to produce things, trying to create things constantly, Capricorn. So they're one of the what I call the false sign. There is the other false sign is Sagittarius, mutable. So that's cardinal mutable, and the other 2 false signs are Cancer and Gemini. So let's just go and have a look at Cancer, shall we? Cancer, there it is just before. And Cancer actually has a lot of earth in it, has an earth at its base. The Cancer is a crab, and we know that a crab can live on land as much as it can on water. Very similar to the Capricorn. And this comes out in relationships and stuff like that as well. And Cancer has a lot of earth running through it. It actually has more earth in its sign than it does water. So this is where we get the false signs. Then we get what I would call pure hybrids. And this is where we get into the fixed. All fixed signs are pure hybrids. So you got Scorpio, Aquarius, Taurus, and Leo. Now the funny thing is that they play opposite to one another. So let's just have a look at Aquarius. Aquarius is the water bearer, so it's like John the Baptist, if you like. It's the baptizing, it's the giving of water from land to within a pot and over someone, as it were. So it is a very mental thing. So it's an air sign, but he's actually giving water, and this gives us the water at its base as well. Now the funny thing is once we go to Scorpio, you will be able to ask questions on all of this, but it'd be easier to get the information out first and then we can talk about it afterwards. Scorpio, if you can see here, is you got water at the surface and air at the bottom. It's exactly the opposite to Aquarius. Now they're at a 90-degree angle, as it were, on the flower. Let's just have a look at the flower. They're a 90-degree angle. Here to slightly to the right, you have Scorpio at the top of the flower, and then down here you'll see it on this next one, the next fixed, where you see the square light blue signs. That's the air of Aquarius. So that goes on a 90-degree angle. The other ones is Leo and Taurus. I've got my dog in here, and we're dealing with cables and everything like that. He took my camera. It's all right, Cody. He just wants to be straight. He got a bit scared last night from the fireworks. He was all a bit sort of done in. I don't know what it's all about. He doesn't like guns. He's a gun dog that doesn't like guns. Work that one out, but yeah, he's an absolute lovely thing. But he's middle-aged, and he doesn't like big bangs. So he's wandering around at the moment, just trying to sort of make sure he doesn't knock over microphones and stuff like that. Allez, couchez, Cody. Assieds-toi. Assieds-toi. Assis. He's all right. Yes, so enough of the dog. Yes, so here we have Taurus that you can now see. So Taurus at the top, you've got the fixed earth, and at the bottom it's fixed fire. And this gives that whole bull effect. I don't know if you've ever been around bulls. I've been, I've lived in the countryside, and my kitchen window, I used to open it out directly onto a field, and I used to be able to feed the cow directly through the cows, directly through the window, my kitchen window. It's absolutely beautiful. My healing centre, it's absolutely lovely. There is, when you put a bull in with a load of heifers, they're the most docile of things. They're not going to charge you. They're not going to kill you. You know what I mean? If you start running around chasing the cows, they may get a bit upset, yes. But as long as you're just walking through and not causing any problems, they're very nice and very docile. But if you pull their tail, that's when you're going to find their fire, and that's where you get the fire at the base of them, of the Taurus, and that sort of plays into that aspect of it. And once we look at Leo, let's just bring that up. Here we have Leo is exactly the opposite situation. You have fire at the surface and earth at the bottom. The other thing you might notice, let me just bring Taurus up again. It's the difference in sort of cardinal energies that are coming through, because you get the pure on Taurus, and on Leo there is obviously Cancer, which is mutable. You do get the pure air on Leo as well, which helps to drive that sort of mental stimulus, that ambition of sort of Leos, as it comes to the surface. And that fire at the surface is that interaction with the outside world. But they are also at 90 degrees. So they're very similar to one another. They almost together, once you put the signs together, you have a full circle of earth and you have a full circle of fire. So they can team up very well in particular sort of circumstances. Okay, so that was the elements. I've just got to make sure I'm following the program, as it were. So we've done the sign makeup. So let's just go through. Yeah, let's go through a little bit about the petals, shall we? Let me just bring the petals up. There you are there. Obviously, once you see, let's just show you Pisces here. Pisces is made up of 4 petals at the base, and then you have 3 petals, 2 petals, then 1 petal. It's like a pyramid sort of scenario going on. And, you know, I equated this goes back to my healing, so I equated this a lot with the characters of the people that I saw in the healing sessions, how they approach life, how they cope with things, what the sports they've done and everything like that. And it gave me an idea of the understanding of the petals, of how they are influencing each one of us. So let's just go through them one by one. Okay, so here you can see the flowers designed, and there you have the petals. So you've got petals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think that's an old version because that 6 should be in the middle there. That's really bad of me. I'm sorry, I do apologise. So that 7 is actually a 6. Okay, picture it. And that 6 is actually a 7. And there's particular things that sort of go with it. And I think it's best to start off with petals 2 and 3. So there's a splitting of the flower, and I do this in the tarot reading because tarot is almost like, it's like you've designed this most amazing, beautiful painting, but without adding any colour. And the tarot is just like the colour that we're putting onto the flower. But the flower itself is a huge driver of things. It's really good. It helps us to understand a lot about ourselves. Helps us to understand a lot about how we can use this understanding in everyday life in accordance to where we are in the year, in regards to signs. So like at the moment we're going through Scorpio. Happy birthday to all you Scorpios. I didn't say happy birthday, did I? Wow. Happy birthday to all you Scorpios. Yes. So we're going through Scorpio. So you can apply those sort of elements of the flower of Scorpio on your sign at the moment, and you'll see which areas are working and which areas are not working. So this is where it came up with this numbering factor. So let's just have a quick look at number 2 and 3, which is right at the base, and it's sitting either side of petal 6, which is marked 7 here, that goes right, sort of sits on it like a V between the 2 and the 3. Now, I suppose I better explain petal 6 now. Petal 6 is like your essentials. It is your inner being, your inner Scorpio, your inner Aries, your inner Capricorn, whatever it is. That is your inner being, your essence, basically. And then you get, and it's sitting on top of 2 petals, the petals 2 and 3. Now, petals 2 and 3 are like your karmic mission. And as I said, with the tarot, we've split it on 2 sides, and we've done this within the Astroflower as well. 1, 2, 5, 8, and 10 is like your emotional sort of side of life. And 3, 4, 7, 9, and 10 are your material side, your sort of the physical part of the world. And 2 and 3 here is your karmic path that is going on for you. So we've got here on 2 and 3, these are the driving forces, because when we're talking about karma, karma is an action. So that's what karma means. So if I do something well for you, in theory, I should be getting good karma back for me. I don't believe in good and bad per se, and nor does karma, but that's how it generally sort of works. But it's working on multi-levels. And this is why we were splitting the karma into 2 bases, one on an emotional side, one on emotional and spiritual side, another on a material and physical side. So you get these karmic missions that are at the base, and we can sort of just see the essence of it. So if we're looking at Pisces here, for example, let's take Pisces. Hello, any Pisces out there? On the petal 2, you've got fixed fire and fixed water. And this it is understanding of how to fix your passions within your emotions. And this is a very difficult thing for Pisces to do. when in regards to relationships. They know when something is passionate and they love it and they get very emotional about it, but maintaining it and retaining it sometimes can be a little bit difficult for them. On the material side, you've got both cardinal energy there, and you've got it spinning in a very particular sort of way. It's all going upwards, so they're very driven by future sort of plans or projects and so forth within their workspace. So that's their general karma and how it works for them. The other thing you'll notice that it is also fire and water, and this plays out a little bit because they're next to Aries themselves. So you have the fire and water elements, and fire and water can be fantastic. If you think about a spa or a lovely beach on the Caribbean, there's nothing better than warm water at the sea. Absolutely lovely. But it can also be incredibly explosive. And everything has its yin-yang factor going on. Let me just go back to the petals. So that's the basic understanding of the Astroflower. So we got petals 1 and 4. Now this is almost like how the other signs, the people around you, the universe, as it were, is influencing these karmic paths. And then obviously you have to look on your individual signs. As I say, there is a link in the description below so you can find your way to that. Let's just looking at Pisces here. They still have this water fire at their base because they are very fiery people, Pisces. They're really amazing. And on the left hand side you get water and air on their physical side, both on mutables because that's what they are, and it's influencing the karmic missions through those sort of elements there. Then we go to petal 5 and 6, so we're going to be doing it on both sides at the same time. 5 and 6 is now in the Astroflower Tower reading. I say it's connecting your past to your future. The actual real definition when we're looking at the Astroflower is how your guides, and this is where they're working on a super subconscious level, how your guides are sort of influencing your karmic path, influencing your current thinking through your longer term plan. And this could also be connected to more than one life. So it could be over a very, very long period, or you could be just looking in this life here. It's connecting those rhythms, which we go into on the Astroflower, which is really important. And that is for another day. Could be part of the learning process. If anybody wanted to learn to be an Astroflower reader, that might well be part of that, those sort of courses that we're doing. So it's influencing the longer term plan, the thing that we understood as kids about the world, about us, about our interaction and everything like that. And it's trying to keep the long term. If you're sailing, it's I've done loads of sailing in my life, and if you're sailing and you want to go from one place to another and the wind is going in a particular direction, it doesn't necessarily mean you can go in a straight line. You have to tack. And I think the 5 and 7 petals, where the influence from your super subconscious, and this is like guides that are sitting way above you, and we'll go into that on another day, the soul construction, if you so desire. We can talk about a lot of things, and we're going to be doing Zoom stuff in the future so we can get direct interaction between one another, because it will be a lot easier like that. But we're trying to work on a members thing and stuff like that. If you like that idea, please do tell us. It's really good to sort of know and stuff like that. So yes, this longer term plan, these guides are working on the actual angle of getting to that place. The 8 and 9, this is where your guides are sitting on your shoulders. Do you remember those cartoons? I grew up personally with Tom and Jerry and that sort of thing. I'm starting to show my age in that. There was also things like Thundercats, and Danger Mouse and stuff like that. But anyway, Tom and Jerry. And if you imagine Tom and Jerry, remember Tom and Jerry, they had like, sometimes they'd have a devil on one shoulder and then an angel on the other. And this is very much what's going on in Petals 8 and 9. This is like your inner conversation. These are actual guides. This is part of the soul creation. Now, these are the guides that are sort of influencing the, I wouldn't say the moral, but they're using it as like tacking as they go down your karmic path. And then the 5 and 7 are all about the longer term plan and goal for your karmic path. And then you get Petal 10, which is how you interact, how you combine all of this and what elements you use to interact that with the world that is around you. Okay, so those are those individual petals. I would go into it a lot more on a tarot readings, but my tarot readings would end up like an hour long, hour and a half long for each sign for a weekly, and it would just be quite mad. So we're going to try it in a different way. I'm going to try and make the weekly readings slightly shorter. Just real serious information, more sort of channeled information than anything else. And then we can, you know, in the members group, we can go into much more deeper discussions about the weekly readings or the monthly readings or whatever we want to go into, basically. So that's the petal structure that's gone on there. Maybe I should talk a little bit about the elements. And how, let me just bring up the main flower, how elements interact with one another. There is this process of like fuel consumption. The element of that we're talking, the actual element that we're talking about at one stage, and one element that is being transferred or transformed. Thank you. Told you. Yeah. Transformed into that final element. So this is where we get the 4 elements. Let's just say, let's take fire, for example. Fire is an interesting element because it actually does a lot of things. It's a real transitional element more than anything else. But it needs wood or earth in also it consumes wood. That's what it does. It actually consumes wood. And then it uses air as a transformer that goes through the fire, and we end up with water vapor which comes out of the fire. This is how the elements sort of interact with one another between each sign, but also between each petal. And what you'll notice here as well on this whole Astroflower is some of the elements, you've got 3 dots here. And that's because they're only on mutables. So we're talking Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces and Gemini. And the reason we've got 3 dots on there is because they are mutable. They can almost swing both ways. And this allows like the flower to move a little bit, gives it a little bit of flexibility. And it also depends, let's take Aries for example. So Aries has that mutable section in that section there on the left hand side on petal 9, where you have the mutable 3 dotted ones of the fire and 3 dotted of the water, and that makes that section on their business side sort of a little bit more sort of leap of faithish in a way. Oh no, that's Aquarius, sorry, I'm talking about. I do apologise. That's Aquarius I'm talking about. So Aquarius here has it on this side here, where it has the 2 mutables there. I do apologise. But you have that leap of faith within Aquarius. They're very sort of logical and methodical about how they follow things in business and stuff like that because of that. Those failings, sort of those elements that are constantly changing at the top of the base of petal 9, top of petal 3, they need to be very clear about where they're going. So they are pretty organised as people goes, and you can see that on here. Let's go back to where it is. There you get Aquarius on the bottom right at around about 3:30, and you can see those dots there on that section there. Now there is also a connection between the qualities. So we've got cardinal, mutable, and fixed. And obviously there is a fixed is, like it says on the tin, it's very well defined. That's why it's a square. It knows what it wants. There's no messing about really within regards to elements. And it sort of like holds the fort. And I think this is why all fixed signs are those hybrid signs. And they're not false hybrids like the others, Capricorn, Cancer, and Gemini and Sagittarius, and they're not like pure signs either. So they've got this element here, and then you've got the mutables as well, which is sort of rounded, and that gives that idea of rounded. They can flow both ways. They can be very fixed, but they can also be very cardinal at times, and it depends on the character, or it depends on the sign of what they're actually going through. The thing is, the reason for this is because they don't actually have those 3 dots within their flower. So let's just take this. If you look at the flower at 11 o'clock, you'll see Virgo, and those dots are on the surface around the outside of Virgo rather than inside the middle. So it gives it a very defined way of working for Virgo. Very perfectionist. I know Virgos quite well. There's a lot of Virgos in my life. They are very, very perfectionist. But we will be doing individual signs at some point, videos and lives on individual signs at some point in the near future. And then obviously, so once you get sort of cardinal and fixed energies working together, cardinals is, running off like headless chickens, Capricorns, Librans, Cancers, and Aries. I wouldn't say Aries run off like a headless chicken, actually, to be honest. And it depends on how it sort of the spiral goes on each individual sign. But they tend to be going off in a direction. They don't tend to. They do think before they go off, but they're very, very curious signs, and can get a bit lost as they go. They go too far ahead of themselves sometimes. So when you get these mixing elements together, say like. Let's take fire and fire. You don't get it. You don't get the fire and water sort of elements where you get fixed and cardinals, because it would be probably highly too destructive. But let's just say fixed and earth and fixed fire. We'll take the top of the petal. Start again. Take the top of the petals. I'll get there in a minute. Take the top of the 12 o'clock. You've got Libra. If you look at the top of the petal, you've got Libra cardinal energy going over fixed water of Scorpio. Now, Scorpio and Libra are very particular signs because they were created around about, I think, just over 1,000 years ago. And a Scorpio is the old weighing machines they used to work in markets in around the Middle East. So this is coming from sort of like Sumerian text and everything like that, where it used to look like a scorpion with, hanged upside down with sort of like almost like a lobster in a way, I guess, where you're just holding, the scales, and that's where also you get the Libra side. But back to our elements. So you get this sort of cardinal air with fixed water. Now you can't really mix water and air, although they are incredibly similar. Air is just water is like condensed air. You get a H2O, so you got oxygen and hydrogen. You get the same thing in air. You get other elements in air, and you also can get other solubles in water. So there are slight difference, but they're very, very similar. But they don't actually mix. So sometimes on relationship sides, it's very difficult for Librans sometimes need to have very determined emotions in regards to their interactions within their relationships with other people that are around you. Let's see if we just take Scorpio quickly for a second. You've got mutable fire over fixed water, your fixed water. So it's more sort of interjection of passions in your life, a very almost spontaneity, moments that are not necessarily preordained, but you know the emotions that you're looking for in those injections of passions within your interactions of your relationships with other people. That's just an example of how you can get the interaction of elements, but also the interaction of the qualities as well. Let me just have a quick look at the time. I haven't been. Obviously, I've just been explaining, so I haven't really been paying attention to any of the comments. There's loads of them. Thank you very much for being here, people. Absolutely lovely to see you. I was just wondering, do you have any sort of questions on regarding those sort of topics that we've been going through today? Has there been anything in particular that are coming through? So we're opening it up now for sort of questions and what have you. So you can sort of ask questions and so forth. I've put in my design as well, there is, if you see the interjection point, so if you're looking at the top of the flower, you get Libra, and where it interjects with its same element, you get this crossing point. So it is a crossing point of ideas and what have you. When you get it with mutable, there is no line at all. So this is what gives us the flowing aspect of it all. And when you get onto the fixed line, it's a one straight line that goes down. So for Scorpio, when it interjects with Aquarius, you just get this one straight. It's a very defined you and me scenario, differentiation between Scorpio and the interaction with anybody else at the same time. I'm going to turn on my telephone so I can see the questions coming from. Well, to see a live reading with who's is that a question from the outside world? Who's that coming from? Sorry. It's from Love. Hello, Love. All right, Love. I would love to do a live reading. Yes, I think maybe we could do a little sort of competition or something like that, where we could do a live reading with a reading of for an individual. We'll put it out on maybe the next competition that we're going to do on the weeklies at some point. That'd be really good. I'd love to do that. I'd love to do a reading through the Astroflower. We will pull some tarots on that reading, because as I say, once you start bringing in the Astroflower into the whole thing, and what they're going through at the moment, and then you can bring in other relationships. So if you're in a relationship, let's say, let's take a sign, any old sign. So if we take sort of Gemini, if they're in a relationship with, let's say, a Leo, then you can overlap the two petals. And the way it works in a very particular way, it's like holding someone's hand. You have one petal that is faced in that direction, and the other petal that is posed upon the other. So it's actually inverted the other person. And it depends who is actually it's a very difficult situation, and I think it goes petal by petal, but who's sort of running the show in the couple, because there's always someone running the show, and they don't tend to be running the show for everything. They tend to be running it for certain aspects. There's someone to look after, I don't know, the sort of finances, and the other person to look after sort of the kids or whatever. There's that sort of thing that goes on with that. But once you start doing a live reading, you can actually then sort of bringing in, the people you work with, the people that you're in relationships with, or just you in regards to your spirit, looking at in relation to the signs that we're either going through, or which sign or which period of the year is best to do certain aspects of your life, as it were. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let me just bring up let me just bring up a rhythm chart. I don't know if you've seen these rhythm charts of mine that I did. Virgo. Let's just bring up this Virgo one. Let's put it in there. Show the thumbnails. There we go. So this is also part of the reading as well. Let me just hide those thumbnails so we get the full picture. So this is the reading. The yellow line is the beginning of your birth. This is the Virgo birth season, and the red line is the end of the Virgo birth season, and how it goes up and down according to the time of year. Your energy sort of, it's like the earth. It breathes, the energy breathes, and we have a northern hemisphere breathing followed by a southern hemisphere breathing, and they sort of go in sort of tandem with one another, and you can see that on the green and blue lines as well. And this is a lot to do with rhythms in life. And this is when I'm talking about autumn and stuff like that. It's this period here, which you can see between periods 3 and 4. On this chart here, and then so you can see the elements that are in a particular time of year. What is good for you if you're looking to start a business, if you're looking to get a job, or if you're looking to do education, or if you're looking to start a relationship, and that's where we can start playing with the elements. And this is what I mean when we go through doing a live individual reading. It can take a very long time. You know, I've done a full Astroflower reading, and it takes around about sort of like 2.5 hours. You know, 2.5, 3 hours, and it's not necessarily. It's nice to have as a birthday present, but it's very full on. There's a lot of information, and I'm trying to work out ways in which I can do sort of publicizing or not charting, sort of recording the reading, so then I can give that as a reading to, you know, as part of the thing for having a full-on reading. But you know, it's not necessarily in the price range of most people in order to do that. Unlike astrology, date of birth would affect elements, a moon in sign, etc. Does your date of birth differ from the Aries to another Aries individual within the Astroflower? So it's coming from Shirley, is it? If I'm taking this right, just tell me if I'm taking this right. What you're saying here is that so someone born on the 21st is different to someone who's born on the 21st of March is different to someone who's born on the 15th of April, for example, in regards to their sign. Yes, you can do totally within the flower because it's done over chronologically, and there you can see the elements and the petals in particular that ring a lot truer to you as a person. So Aries, they can either be like someone who calculates a lot, so like accountants, architects and that sort of thing, but they also got a huge pulling towards children, doing sort of teachers, education, that sort of thing as well, looking after kids. And this does depend on when when they're actually born. I don't go into exact times of when they're born. The only thing that I would go into is basically to the solar activity. Now this is where we go into the rhythms of things, that we go into the Astroflower, because I take in many sort of elements, as it were. So if you're in a high solar activity when you're born, if you're in a low solar activity, if you're progressing, if the solar activity is going from low to high and high to low. I've just done a thing on CYMATIC TV, which you'd probably be able to find linked in the description below that channel. And we're going from a high season into a low season. Now the solar cycle itself takes around about 11 years. I've just had another question come through. I'll come on to that in a second. It's all about the rhythms of the earth and the sign rhythms. So I'm pretty much talking about that at the moment. Yeah, I think we're not far off it. So, this is the initial out. This is the initial offset of or starting point of your rhythms. Does it start in a high cycle or a low cycle, and etc. Let me just, for your own curiosity, if you so desire, let me just have a look, see if I can find some a solar chart for you. There we go. Sorry, let me just bring this up. I'm not the most computer savvy in the world. I'm doing a lot better than I thought. Here's the most basic one. So let's just hide that. Yeah. So this is the most basic of cycles, as you can see down there below, the years that go back through the years. You have the high cycle. That red line is on the high cycle, and then you get the low cycle, and you get the transition. This changes how people approach life throughout their life. It also changes epochs or generations, if you like, that sort of thing. So that's much more sort of larger rhythms. Let's go back to that rhythm, because someone asked a question about talk about the rhythms and the earth rhythm. So if we go back to this rhythm here, you see the green line, or the green dots on this line here, are the rhythms of the earth. So the rhythms, the energy breathes, it moves from northern hemisphere to southern hemisphere, it oscillates like that over the year. And obviously when the southern hemisphere is in summer, the northern hemisphere is in winter. But it doesn't quite work exactly like that in regards to energy. It's slightly displaced. So your autumn period, the autumn period is the spring period in the corresponding, the opposite hemisphere. So in the autumn period, in which you can see between point 2 and 3 to the left of this chart here on the green line, that is the autumn period in the southern hemisphere. Which goes between, so it's the spring, or I say spring, it's between Aries and Cancer. So Virgo, in the northern hemisphere, if you're born in the southern hemisphere, your energy is going to be running completely opposite to the earth. This has pluses and minuses about anything in life. It can make you a real go-getter because you've got to fight for it in a way, but also at the same time it can make it a little bit difficult because you're out of sync in a way with the energies of the earth. Let's just see if we took another sign. So if we took Cancer, for example, in the southern hemisphere. I'm just trusting that most people watching this are from the southern hemisphere. They might be from the UK as well, but it's the same thing. It works in the northern hemisphere as much in the southern hemisphere. The Earth's rhythms there is, let's say you're between Cancer and Libra. You're going to be running very much within the energies of the Earth. If you took Capricorn, for example, let me just bring up a Capricorn, because Capricorn's on the northern hemisphere, and of course I am Capricorn, so you know what I mean. Let me just bring up Capricorn here. Let me go back to there. Let me find Capricorn. It shouldn't be too far. Libra, Pisces, Gemini, Capricorn. Let's just chuck that in there. Okay, so this is Capricorn, and is this Capricorn? Yes, it is Capricorn. So you can sort of see the beginning, the yellow line, which is the beginning of the cycle. It runs perfectly with the elements of the northern rhythm of the northern hemisphere. So it works in conjunction with the solstice. So Capricorns tend to have that sort of earthy rhythm, and they're sort of like very consistent, very slow, long, because they're tied to that rhythm in a way. You'll get the same sort of situation going on in the southern hemisphere with Cancer, for example. If you're living in the southern hemisphere, your energy is going to be completely in tune with that, and it will probably make you a lot more sort of methodical about how you go about life. That is just the yearly rhythm, or the 9-month rhythm, which is connected to the Earth's rhythms. And then we've got loads more rhythms that are within the human being, which we go into the Astroflower. So there's 9 months, 18 months, 3 years, 6 years, 12 years, and 24 years through the rhythms of the Astroflower. So it does, and it that changes actually a lot. That's one of the biggest drivers behind the Astroflower. Those individual human rhythms that we should sort of be very attentive of. I'm just going to grab myself a little bit of cup of tea. Another question come in: do you get a big difference in your energy when using a style of reading compared to before using it? Do you mean an energy within me? Is that what you mean? My energy? If you're talking about, do you get a big difference in your energy when using the... Me personally, when I'm doing, say, like a reading for someone, certainly when I'm doing healing and stuff like that, I'm actually in a meditative state. So I never take notes. I can remember exactly what I've said whilst I'm doing a healing, and I've got to be in a very neutral state when I'm healing or doing a reading. I try to be in the most neutral state, because I'm not going through, if I end up emotionally implied, and this is what I teach in my healing school as well, or help people to learn, that if you are too heavily applied, emotionally applied in your life, let me just play with the studio again, come back to that. Wow, look at that, great. If you're heavily applied into it, you lose that sense of seeing the forest, and you're only got seeing the tree. So you've got to be incredibly detached. So do I see a difference in my energy? Only the fact that I'm going into a different state of meditation, I guess. That's probably the best way to sort of say that. When I work on people, because you can see auras, we can all see auras if we choose, if we wish to. Energy will allow you to see exactly what you're ready to see. When energy opened it up to me totally, I was seeing auras before I had a near-death experience, but when I came back from the near-death experience, because I came down the tube back into my body, and I sort of said, if I'm going back down there, I want to know exactly how it works. And when I got back and I opened my eyes, I could just, it was just all over the place. Not all over the place, but I didn't mean like the energy was everywhere. It was just like, it was for a young man of 20 odd, very, very early 20s, that didn't have anybody to teach them around them, because I was working in a fruit and veg market in London, Spitalfields, whilst doing also healing and stuff like that. It was mentally very challenging. And so energy sort of kind of went, okay, so we've shown you what you can get to. And then it sort of like calmed it right down. And then I spent the next sort of like 10, 15 years exploring and fine-tuning my interaction with energy in order to sort of see more. So when I'm looking at people, when I go through a reading, especially when they're face-to-face, because obviously looking at auras through a camera is not the same thing, because it doesn't work on the same frequencies, same lights and stuff like that. It's electrical more than anything else. But I do see when I've got someone sitting in front of me and we're doing healing and stuff like that, it is phenomenal, the change within the person, not me. So have I noticed a difference in the energies before using the Astroflower and afterwards? No, not really, because I was doing a lot of healing before then, so I was heavily into energy way before the Astroflower came up. The Astroflower actually came out in a way that the reason it came about, because I wanted to devise a tool that I could give to the people that come and see me, a tool that helps them to sort of be preventive rather than healing. so then they can, they can be in step with themselves, so then they avoid a lot of the situations rather than actually, encounter them. So for me, I've got a thing with my throat at the moment. I think everybody's noticed that, and I think it's because I had COVID and stuff like that, or really bad cold. And I tend to have a really bad cold or flu once every 4 or 5 years. It's just like an antivirus update that the human body needs to go through, so it's absolutely fine. But apart from that, I don't know. I never get ill. So I'm, and the reason being is because once you get in step with energy, you can almost see that problem arriving from years off, and you can just move yourself slightly to the right or slightly to the left, and you can avoid that situation, as it were. So that's how I sort of like going with it. But have I seen a great difference between in my energy using this style of reading before using it? No, I don't think so. I think it's if anything, it just helps the intuition to be a lot quicker, basically. Because when you're dealing with some things, if you're dealing with healings, there's a lot of things that we're dealing with, and therefore, the part of my job as I created a healing system over the years, and that's when I did the healing school, and I've got I got a healing school. So part of the learning process was to find shortcuts constantly within my work, so I could streamline it really down to the essentials, so it becomes very practical. No, I didn't really notice a difference. I did notice a difference when I was discovering it. So as I was gradually doing it, like anything, it's like you spend the whole, I have been 3 o'clock in the morning going into it and having eureka moments and just screaming my head off in the kitchen. It's been absolutely amazing, absolutely brilliant. And no more questions, I guess. We've pretty much come to an end. Thank you very much for being here. You've had the weeklies come out this week. We're also going to be doing another live this evening as well, pretty much on the similar sort of topic. This is mainly for the Americans, our American friends and etc. And loads of other things. So going on, and we'll put that sort of competition out, and maybe we'll try and do sort of like a reading, some sort of reading for sort of members in the future and stuff like that. Okay, I don't know what there's else left to say apart from get over to CYMATIC TV, have a look at that last video that I've just done, because it's a very interesting study on energy, about the prana energies. It comes through the sun, comes through the earth, and comes through us. Don't know if there's any other questions. No. Where did the Astroflower originate from? Who was that from? Shirley. I think it was about there. Slight left part there, or right part, or could have been in the heart. I don't know. It just I'd like to say I created it, but I wouldn't be so arrogant in a way. It's as I say, it's a tool that I created in order to help the people that come and see me for healing. That's what it was originally designed for, and it's just grown from there. So it's never existed before. Basically, you're getting a real sort of like, this is the start of the Astroflower, and there's so much more to learn from it, and there's so much more to explore. I haven't explored every angle of it yet. We've tried to, Tanya and me, we've tried to do lots of exploration in it, and it just it's like a gift that never stops giving. It's just absolutely amazing thing. Really is absolutely amazing. So it didn't come from anywhere apart from just from within my life, I guess. That's where it came from. That's the best way to explain it. You'll never find it anywhere else. It is a unique system. It really is a unique system, and it's so much more than sort of just sort of tarot and stuff like that. It is a way of life. Yeah, so yeah, that's came from me basically. You know, I think that's about it. Absolutely brilliant. I'm going to say Saranyawa. I think that's Japanese. Or au revoir. Or a plus. Arrivederci. Yes, and I will say goodbye to you. Thank you very much for being here. Really do appreciate it. Seriously, we're nothing without you guys. It's a lovely community that we're creating. It's so good to hear from you. Good to hear about what's going on as well in your life. Carol, sorry nothing happened on your holidays. I think that was you, wasn't it? Sorry nothing happened on your holidays. You never know. It might be. It might have started without you even knowing, and you might meet up with that person again in the future and go, "Do you remember when?" And so you never know. You know. So it's lovely to have all you people here. It's absolutely beautiful. And the thing is, between us, we will find the solutions. For everything, we will find the solutions because we are the solution. I am not the solution. You're not the solution. We are the solution. And it is so true. It's so true. It's like I can't save the world. You can't save the world, but we can. So it's important as well that you exist fully within your life. That's really important. I can't explain to you how important that is. It's the only reason we're here for is to be fully integrated within living life. And it's not always easy. We know that. Everybody knows that. So, much love and joy to you and energy and everything like that. And sort of like, group hug and what have you. You know what I mean? It's nothing greater than that. Together we will be the solution. I will see you soon. Thank you very much for being here. Don't forget, life should be fun. So